Hello, how's it going? Today we're talking about the Ordering of Azeroth, shaping the surface of the world, that kind of thing. Plus a previously established character that hasn't really been involved thus far gets to be centre of attention for a change, so that's great. Let's go! In order to reshape the world, the Keepers called upon the new generation of servants created by the Forge of Wills. Each of these Titan Forge would play a different role in ordering and protecting the world. The Earthen would specialise in crafting mountains and carving out the deep places of the world. The Mechanomes, designed by Mimeron, would help build and maintain the Keepers' extraordinary machineries. The Mogu would dig out the rivers and waterways of Azeroth. The task of safeguarding many of the Keepers' holdings would fall to two groups, the Vrykul and the tol'vir. The environment would be shaped by both stone and sea giants, lifting towering mountain ranges and dredging fathomless seas. It's also worth mentioning the Pantheon bestowed several artifacts on the Keepers to assist them in ordering the world. These relics are known as the Pillars of Creation. Ages after the Keepers complete their work, these artifacts get lost, so well done, Keepers. Well done. Meanwhile, Freya looked to populate the world with organic life. To do this, she crafted the Emerald Dream. This is a vast, ever-changing dimension of spirits and nature magic. Mirroring Azeroth itself, the Emerald Dream would help to regulate the evolutionary path of the world's flora and fauna. All sorts of spirits and otherworldly beings populated the dream, and they were all just having a whale of a time. Frolicking, cavorting, prancing about, tra-la-la-la! Concepts like time and distance didn't really matter in this realm. A day on the physical plane would feel like decades in the dream, just like Inception. Freya then went on a bit of a journey to find areas where energy from the Well of Eternity had coalesced. These regions created optimal conditions for the development of new life. Freya shaped immense districts of nature at these places of power. These sites were located at the polar extremes of the world, regions that would later become known as Ungoro Crater, Sholazar Basin, the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. The greatest creatures to emerge from these sites were massive animals known as the Wild Gods. Let's find out who some of the greatest of these buggers are, shall we? Malorn, the Honourable White Stag. He's honourable, and he's a white stag. Asina, the Mother Wisp. Very much like Therazane, that's mother in the maternal sense. Not Asina, the Mother Wisp. Agamagan, the Razor Boar, featuring such fantastic metal hits like The Razor Boar and Chugga 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 Death. Aviana, the Mistress of Birds. See kids, sometimes a mummy and a daddy bird are having marital issues and daddy bird decides he needs an extra mummy bird in his life. So he goes to see Aviana and she gives him cuddles and blowjobs. Ursok and Ursol, the Colossal Bear Lords. Massive bears. Tortola the Wise, not to be confused with his Spanish cousin, Tortilla the Tasty. Goldrin the Great Wolf. He's great. He's just a real great guy. Chiji the Red Crane. Interesting story. This guy sometimes disguises himself as a Pandaren called Fat Long Fat. Sounds like he was under pressure when he came up with that name. News Owl the Black Ox. These wild gods got real Chinese, real fast. Zhuan the White Tiger. Also pretty Chinese. And finally, Yulon, the Jade Serpent, 100% Chinese. Freya adored and cared for these beings as if they were her children. She often roamed the physical world with the wild gods by her side, forests and grasslands blooming in their footsteps. But there was one place in particular that they frequented, and that place was Mount Hyjal. It was on the slopes of Hyjal that Freya bound the spirits of her beloved wild gods to the Emerald Dream. Forever after, Hyjal would remain a refuge and sacred place to the wild gods. As Freya's creations explored the world, they came across a number of other strange life forms, creatures that had emerged from Azeroth's elemental past of their own free will. When the Keepers had sealed off the elemental plane, some stragglers had escaped banishment, but their fury had calmed over time, and they'd become creatures of flesh and blood. It was from these former elementals that wildlife, such as proto-dragons, came to be. After all this sort of stuff, Azeroth's main landmass was stabilised. The Keepers surveyed this new world they'd shaped, and they named this landmass Kalimdor, which means the Land of Eternal Starlight. So that's interesting. Some of you are thinking, but what about all the other continents that aren't Kalimdor? Well, it's all bloody Kalimdor at this point, because we haven't reached the point in the story where the landmass breaks apart yet, have we? But we're leaving it there! So there we go. The world has been ordered, and life has taken root. It's only taken us like 10 videos to get to this point, and there's still so many things like, where did people come from? What's Sargeras doing? Why is Azeroth only one continent? Well, give me a chance, and I'll get to all of those things, eventually. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like or upvote button. You could also subscribe or follow the channel. There's also a link to my Patreon page in the description, and the only thing left to say is, thank you very much for watching, and see ya!